Welcome to Caching in the Northwest. This is the official podcast of GeoWoodstock 18 right here in the Great Pacific Northwest. Each week, we're going to talk about caches and cachers from here and all around the globe. So, while you're saying goodbye to the VW Beetle, possibly for the second time in your life, we'll be caching in the Northwest. And we can't do that. Awkward pause until we bring in...
We just can't do it. Never mind. Good night. It's been
our
great.
traveling Cameron. Some say he collects rusty nails. And others say geocaching HQ increases security every time he crosses the border. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
I missed you, friend.
Oh,
I'm wondering if the collection of rusty nails is related to the security increase.
no, those are two completely separate things.
Total coincidence.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the collection of rusty nails is really quite impressive. Now, I don't like it when you end up throwing them out of your car when I'm following you.
I was just going to say, as long as you don't collect them in your tires. Yeah, exactly. Oh, my goodness.
That's usually what I say when I get a nail in my tire and I go to the tire store and I say, hey, can you patch this? I did my civic duty and picked up the nail or screw out of the roadway.
You have to remind me to talk about the time we picked up a bolt in our tire.
Like a Chevy bolt?
That would be in a what do you call those? The monster truck scenario when you pick up a Chevy Volt.
There's another subcompact stuck in my tire.
Something in my treads again. Just give it a good spin. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, you know what? We are going to talk about something a little bit different tonight. We're going to talk about caching in the Northeast.
Wait, no. That's not what this show's about.
Oh,
we are Northwest type folks.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we do this? So I just came back from caching in the Northeast, and we know we have a number of our listeners who are based in the Northeast of North America and probably Northeast of a lot of places. But perhaps a lot of folks who live in the Northeast of North America are planning to come to the Northwest next August, and we can talk about our experiences caching over in the Northeast and how it compares and contrasts to caching in the Northwest, and might help people prep a little bit for when they're coming out here, what to expect, what's different.
I love it. And you know what? It's okay. We can grow and expand just like you can.
There you go.
Come grow with us.
Yes. Well, and speaking of growing with us, we want to thank our growing list of patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. Thank you, guys. We really appreciate the work that you do to support our work. That's very important to us, and it's much appreciated. We also want to thank Landsharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. And folks, if you want to know more about supporting the show and all the perks and benefits that come along with that, make sure to click that Patreon link on the cachingandw.com website. Oh, it's been so long since I said that. That felt good.
You miss it, don't you?
I did.
You know what else I miss? I miss glows, geocaching logs of the week. Yes, we have one each and every week. But you know what? Sometimes my Wednesday just isn't the same without reading a good glow. And if you have a good glow, healthy complexion, nice glow, or a geocaching log of the week, send that in to us. Because whether you read it or whether you wrote it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make geocaching better. Send an email or a field recording to feedback@cachingandw.com. You can call into 253-693-TFTC. I don't know if I got the 253-693-TFTC. I hesitated halfway through thinking I've made a mistake somewhere.
You got it, man. That's right.
Yeah. And you know what I was supposed to do? You know what today is? It's International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Arr! And I was going to do this whole thing as a pirate, and I forgot to do it.
Avast.
You can use the voicemail tool on the website and show us how ye glow.
Well
Call
done.
it now, or we make Land Monkey walk the plank.
Hey. Call in, please. Just a poor.
You can do a field recording or as the pirates would do, a dinghy recording.
Is it
Make
really?
a recording right there in your dinghy.
It's not a sea recording or a poop
No.
deck recording or
that
I had to throw a poop deck in there somewhere.
I couldn't do much more than that. That's really hard on my throat.
It appears to be that way. Absolutely.
Arr, and just
Arr.
clearing my throat.
Mm.
Okay. We got a glow from Bounce Bounce. Bounce Bounce sends in some great glows via email. And this one is from somebody we know right here in the Northwest. You see how I emphasize the West? It's from our buddy Avroair. And he couldn't find the bootlegger's lair. I got to stop doing that.
Yeah, but that's
It
pretty
is so
appropriate
much
for
fun.
Topic of Pirate Day.
Oh, that's GC Motel 2 Echo Foxtrot. He starts by saying, "We went on a group hike today in the Sourlands Mountain Reservation." The Sourlands. It sounds like it should be, yeah. Group members were myself, Mark of Everywhere, Dave of Team DMP or DEMP, and Scott of the Bee Gees, and I'm thinking that's not the band,
Oh, that's
and
just
Marty of Marty 621. After a couple of caches, Marty had to leave, and Nick of eKit 10 replaced him. And that's when all the fun started at the cache. It seems a resident vulture had made its nest nearby, let's say 10 feet from the cache. And as we got to ground zero, an argument ensued as to which way the cache was. A lot of great hiding places. In the end, we opted for eKit's 10's I Know Nature Boy, and it's just like him to put a cache somewhere like that, pointing to a large collection of rocks with a massive hole down. We made our way over, hopping from rock to rock until we reached the penultimate rock where the hole lay. Within 7 feet of the cache, a huge swoosh and a beast of burden, a nightmare from the netherworld, appeared, breathing fires and shrieking chants and curses. Nick was closest to the simmering hole of death. "Holy cow, move!" Nick fled. Run away, as 4 grown men rolled and beat it down the mountain with GPS units flying, backpacks sacrificed, and eKit 10 then rolled up in a ball, sucking his thumb. The gargantuan avian raptor flapped to a nearby perch and stared a cold, menacing look as we regrouped our assault for the cache. We were 4 hobbits huddled together in a Lord of the Rings movie. Nick was writhing in pain on the ground, but we didn't dare venture from behind the tree to help him out. Better him than me, I thought. We urged him to stop moving and play dead, and finally mustered up the strength to retrieve him to safety. We circled and circled the rock, looking for a way in not by the nest, while one kept a lookout nearby in the nearby perched looked out while one kept lookout for the nearby perched abysmal creature. Several times it hopped from one perch to another, each time sending us diving and retreating for cover behind the rock. Finally, after a gallant effort, we decided to leave this forsaken place and move on to a cache with a less threatening guardian warding our path. Now, understand that a bootlegger is a creature that grabs you by the legs and holds you upside down by the boots. Next time I come here, I shall bring a veritable army. Till then, I bid you adieu. This cache should have an entirely new icon of someone crapping their pants. Nick will take about a month to recover and shall now be known as Buzzard Boy. Do not attempt this cache while the beast still has young in its lair. The avian raptor was about 3 feet high with a 7-foot wingspan. There you go. That is a worthy glow geocaching log of the week. Not every geocaching log of the week has to have a find. Sometimes the DNF is just as good as a story.
It can be ire. And that beastie would definitely, we prefer to call it keel hauling, but I don't know. I'm really terrible at the pirate thing. I got a hat.
Are you be?
I got a hat. So
So, what's be a pirate's favorite letter?
see?
It be C.
Oh, geez. All
All
right.
pirates love the sea.
I'm done with this. I can't use my headphones and wear this hat. So
Why? It's a perfectly good pirate hat.
it is a perfectly good pirate hat, but
Are you not a
this just
perfectly
feels
good
better.
pirate?
Sorry, what's that?
Are you not a perfectly good pirate?
No, I'm not. I'm a rather poor pirate.
IHAM says someone's a little dingy, all right.
But
And apparently that was a good Mr. Krabs impression.
ah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure to whom that was intended, but
It doesn't matter.
yeah. Well, it's if nothing else, it's just more than a feeling. It's really real effort in there.
That's right.
All right. So, what else have we got going on? Well, we can just sort of move right into talking about our topic tonight. I don't think we have any news that we were going to share tonight,
Not
or
so
am I
much.
mistaken?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, I put on my appropriate hat for tonight, so uh,
Your
I-
favorite band?
in fact, it is one of my favorite bands. We were talking about that earlier. Boy, it is. I just wish we could play their songs on the show and not have copyright issues. To be
Yeah.
honest,
Anytime there's going to be, yeah,
yeah.
there's going to be copyright issues.
You
So,
definitely
all
won't
right.
have peace of mind if you're getting copyright issues, that's for sure.
That's right.
All right. Well, so caching in the Northeast, that's what we're going to talk about. So little backgrounder, Mrs. Monkey and I just finished a road trip where we had a great time out exploring the Northeast. Managed to avoid Hurricane Dorian, which was also a bit of a side bonus. Um, Dorian threw a small wrench in our planning, but you know, not too big a deal. We got through it all. And one of the things that definitely happened a number of times is Mrs. Monkey found a number of caches. Um, and there's evidence of the fact that,
So it's true that she finds the caches and you just take pictures of her finding the cache.
well, that's the story. Um, I don't know. This was a unique cache, though. So I got to say, this was a traditional.
Mhm.
But now this is not anything that a cache owner I don't think can enforce, but the cache owner had two pill bottles, or sorry, not pill bottles, 35 millimeter canisters. You can kind of see them in her hand there, taped end to end. And then one was the log sheet, and the other was this little note written on fabric rolled up.
Mhm.
And the logging requirement was not only to sign the log, but to take a photo of you with that sign. Now, again, because I don't think they can actually, delete your
Enforce.
logs if you didn't
Yeah.
do that because it's a traditional cache. But I thought that was kind of fun, so we enjoyed taking that little photo there.
Nice. I like how it's multilingual, founded and trouvé.
Well, it was in Quebec City, so there you go. Um, yeah, so Quebec City is more or less where we started. We flew into Montreal and we picked up a rental car, drove to Quebec City. Then we worked our way through New Brunswick, where we actually did a very cool geo art in northern part of New Brunswick, which was an interesting experience. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that later. Um, Moved our way over to Prince Edward Island, which spectacular, beautiful place to go and have a geocaching adventure. Highly recommended. Then from there, Nova Scotia, we spent a couple of days in Halifax and environs. Found Canada's oldest geocache, which is not far from Halifax. Um, also went now. We also went to a place that was very high in our list of places we need to go that isn't directly correlated to geocaching, but anybody,
What?
yeah, I know, right? Um, Anybody who geocaches may know about a particular television show on the History Network called The Curse of Oak Island. Are you familiar with that one, Chris?
I do like that show. Yes.
So we went to Oak Island
Did
and
you really?
we did, and we toured the Oak Island Visitors Center. which is filled with a number of the artifacts that you see them find on the television show are in displays
Mhm.
in the visitor center, which is really cool to see. And we had a very unique experience when we were there. So I will tell this story. When we pulled up and got out of the car in the parking lot, and the visitor center is as far as you can go. All everything else is blocked off on the island. You can
It's
only
all
go.
private property after
It
that,
is all private property, exactly. Um, got out of our car. We were planning, well, we'll go in the visitor center. Yeah, we're going to check this out. This is really cool. We're very excited to be here. Mrs. Monkey gets out of the car and gasps. And so my first thought is, oh my goodness, did we lock the keys in the car? Is there, like, what happened? And she says, they're there. I look up. Almost all of the people you see on the show on a regular basis, the two brothers, their helpers, their friends, and everybody who works on the island they were all standing just outside of the visitor center having a chat. And we were able to go over and talk with them and take some photos. And it was an absolutely unique, amazing experience. Here, let's see. As some of my friends say, pictures or it didn't happen. So it's,
yeah, it's pretty much true.
yeah. So
So, for those of you who don't know what the show The Curse of Oak Island is, uh, legend has it that hundreds of years ago, there was a great treasure buried on Oak Island, hundreds of feet down in what they call the money pit. Um, Over the years, dozens of different people have gone looking for this treasure, and no one has truly found the hoard. They have found little pieces here and there that just prompt you enough to keep looking. Okay, go ahead, Lane Monkey.
yeah, no worries. So there you go. So there's us with the group of them. So you'll recognize if you watch the show some of these faces here and here and here, and then there's Mrs. Monkey and there's me with my new Nova Scotia hoodie on. So yeah, it was very cool. It was a really awesome experience, and
Were they polite, kind, welcoming,
you know,
or they're like, yeah, it's more people that have come to see because
um, it it was amazing. They were just like you would think they were when you watch the show and you're like, oh, these guys seem pretty laid back, just really approachable, open to talk about lots of stuff. So the two brothers, primary brothers who uh, are featured in the show, um, are Rick here with the gray beard and Marty in the burgundy top in the middle there. And when I went over to Marty and I started chatting with him, I made the observation. I said, "Hey, you're dirty," because his jeans were quite muddy in the lower part, and he just laughs. He says, "Man, everybody gives me a hard time about that." 'Cause he says, "I don't know what it is about the editing, but I'm gonna have to talk to the producers because every episode you watch, it's like Rick is like from his eyebrows down coated in mud,
right.
and Marty always looks like
He just stepped out of the shower.
exactly." So it was just kind of funny to give him a bit of a hard time, and he has a great sense of humor about it. But we talked to them a little bit about how things were going on the island, and what was particularly interesting to talk about. Again, if you've been watching that show at all, you'll you'll know that they've had some unfortunate situations with weather in the past. Well, we were there visiting 2 days before the hurricane was going to hit, and Marty was actually quite concerned about a cofferdam that they had built, and they had done a lot of very expensive excavations behind that, and he was quite concerned about it holding up. So I
In the
guess,
cove there,
sorry, what's that?
the coffer dam in the cove.
In the cove, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So watch the show, and you'll be able to see what happened when Dorian went through to see if it held up. Yeah.
Highlands guy says, Oak Island, cool. A relative of my grandparents was Laverne Johnson. He spent his life working on the treasure of Oak Island. He wrote a book called Revealed, The Secret of Oak Island.
That's very, very cool.
It would have been an amazing experience. And he has a signed copy of the book.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Nice.
So yeah,
Um,
yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I didn't want to get too far away because IHAM says you need to cool the engines on the Boston music. Step away and don't look back, lest the copyright police come after you. So,
I yeah, tell me. I certainly am aware of that.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we just have to watch Marianne walk away.
Sometimes we do, but just don't be afraid. Hitch a ride.
Mhm.
It'll all be good.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, so um I assume once you were on Oak Island. Okay, I have to say, and I hope I don't spoil anything because I don't know any details. But a couple of weeks ago on Twitter, saw a news item that said the mystery of Oak Island had been solved, and that this would probably be the last season of the Curse of Oak Island.
So, yeah, I
I
mean,
have no idea.
we don't know anything for sure because obviously everybody who works on that show is on under an NDA. They're
Mhm.
not going to just blah 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 reveal everything. But what I can say is they were filming that day when we were there, and um, the brothers seemed to be very very happy and excited. So something good has happened this summer on Oak Island. So
Well, something good happens every season, but more of, well, I guess we don't really know what we just did.
yeah, we found something really cool. Have no idea.
No idea what it is, or we spent all this time and money and didn't really come up with anything, so now where do we go next?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that geocaching thrill. It's the thrill of the
Mm,
hunt, right? It's
yeah.
not necessarily finding the treasure, it's the hunt. And I look at this and go, wow, how many holes have they dug into that island?
Yeah,
And
not just
it-
them, like people in general in the
yeah,
last 200 years. Yeah.
yeah. So uh I don't want to get too far down this trail, but can you imagine in the what do they say? Even the Knights Templar. So we're going back to the 1400s, and they dug down 125 feet. That doesn't seem possible in those days, with hand labor and, well, I have trouble digging a 2 foot post hole in my backyard. So,
Right? Yeah. So anyways, yeah, we can segue back to geocaching now, but I just thought that was a pretty cool story and it does
mhm.
have a, treasure finding geocaching related angle to it. So thought I would share
Well,
that.
treasure looking,
Treasure searching.
it's
Yes,
treasure searching.
exactly.
Oh, it's the ultimate DNF.
We should really ask Rick and Marty to send in a glow.
Oh,
What would
there
really
you
like to
go.
do.
And it would be all DNFs.
They'll just send us a link to the last few seasons. Yeah. But yeah, so that was Nova Scotia. We
So,
yeah,
okay. So as you're in there, you said you were just 2 days ahead of the hurricane.
yeah.
Did the hurricane change your travel plans?
So yes, it did a little bit. Originally, our plan was that we were going to take the ferry from Digby, Nova Scotia, which is on the west coast of the peninsula of Nova Scotia, over to St. John, which is almost kind of a straight line across New Brunswick. What happened is we were going to be taking the ferry. So we were spending 2 full days in Halifax. And the ferry, what our ferry ride that we had scheduled was on the day that the hurricane
Mm.
was going to hit. Of course, we didn't book it that way initially because we had no idea. But what ended up happening is because the ferry got canceled, we decided, well, what instead of what our original plan was, we were going to sleep in Saturday and then just have a nice casual drive. And it was, cashing our way over to Digby and then take the evening ferry across. Well, then it's like, okay, well, things have changed. Digby, yeah. I'm sure Keats has been to Digby. I'm sure there's no place in Nova Scotia I can name Keats hasn't been. But same with Dora Moore, who I don't think Dora Moore's listening tonight. I think she's still back east on her geocaching adventure. But anyways, thanks, Keats. Um, so that's what we were going to do. But because the ferry was canceled, we decided to get up early in the morning, drive out and back up the connector of the peninsula and just drive to St. John. And honestly, it was fine. We sort of stopped once in a while for a cache, not too often because it was raining pretty good. But really, the hurricane was going up the east coast of Nova Scotia. So once you're over on the highways inland a bit in New Brunswick, honestly, it was like a Pacific Northwest winter rainstorm. That is really what it was over there.
Mhm.
It really wasn't that bad.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
So when you're tired and thinking cold, you hide in the music, just forget the day?
Well, that's what we did. Yeah, absolutely. We went to the hotel room there in St. John and just checked in and just really yeah, that was pretty much it. No smoking or anything. We're just
Mhm.
relaxing in the room um, and having some peace of mind because we
Yeah.
didn't have to worry about driving anywhere or going out anywhere. Although we did find 2 earth caches and 1 virtual in St. John during the storm. So
Of course you did. Uh, in an unrelated in unrelated news at work, Keith says, I put an item on hold for a customer named Dorian. I was almost like, oh, like the hurricane. Cool.
well, that's always the risk, right? They name
Yeah.
hurricanes after people's names, but very funny, very funny. Um,
So how
yeah.
were the I want to say natives, how were the East Coast Canadians dealing with the threat of the hurricane coming? Was it was it just business as usual? Were they tense?
Honestly, it was for the most part, it was kind of business as usual. It was kind of funny. We have some friends who live out that way as well, and we're communicating with them through the whole process. And they're mostly like, "Oh, well, we'll just hunker down for the night. We got food, we got what we need." And I mean, the way the hurricane, not to diminish the impact, because there was definitely some damage, but I don't think anybody was, as far as I know, there was no serious injuries. Certainly not in Nova Scotia or New Brunswick or PEI from the hurricane coming through. Not that I heard. I mean, I could be wrong. Um, but it's just, it's not the same as clearly when it hits down in the tropics or southern Florida or in those areas where they really get pounded with a lot more ferocity from the storm. It's by the time it gets up to Canada, it's still a big storm. It's got to be taken seriously. But the local yacht clubs just pulled all the boats up onto the hard. The Coast Guard and Navy ships just went out of the harbor and rode out the storm. I say just like, oh yeah, just but
Just as one does, obviously.
it seemed to kind of be the attitude of the people we were talking to. It was like, yeah, well, we'll just shut the city down, wait it out, and then clean up. We're good. it was it was a very yeah, it was very
They were nonplussed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They were expecting it. They knew it was coming, and they were ready for it. So it was, I guess, it's kind of that sort of Canadian roll up your sleeves and just get her done attitude. So
Um, Bryling went on and found us a website for the hurricane and cyclone names from 2019 to 2024. Apparently, they have them booked out for the next 5 years.
that's
And
interesting.
Chris is a potential hurricane name in 2024.
Mm. Well,
Apparently, I'm going to the East Coast in 5 years,
oh,
and
funny.
I
So
will, rock you like a hurricane.
hurricane. There you go.
Sorry, wrong band.
Wrong
Sorry,
band.
can't go there.
Well,
Um,
still got an '80s tie in there. It's
yeah,
good.
there you go. So hurricanes are not something we're familiar with here. I mean, we have the possibility of a typhoon in the Pacific, but that usually doesn't come anywhere near us. Rain. Yeah, we had some rain. We've had some rain just this week that was quite heavy, but
Yeah.
you know, is the rain as heavy as some of our rainstorms we get, or was it just constant and unrelenting?
Well, I would say it was constant and unrelenting, particularly, where the storm was hitting harder over in Nova Scotia and PEI and obviously Newfoundland when it got worked its way up there. But over. over in New Brunswick, we're coastal in St. John, and like I said, really, it was like when we get the heavy storms out here. So it rains harder for a period, then a little lighter for a period, then harder for a period, and you can almost kind of see um, how the storm is progressing through the day by um, two things: the amount of rain and the verticalness of the rain, or whether it's vertical or horizontal.
Gotcha.
Because when the storm was at its worst, the rain was basically coming in horizontal, um, which we've had storms out here where that
Mhm.
happens too, right? So that's what I was saying. It was just like when we get a bad winter storm out here, was pretty much what it was. And all the folks at the hotel and the locals that we dealt with, they're like, "Yep, well, we're just shutting down, and we'll pick it back up in the morning."
Okay.
Yeah,
Did
so
you pack, proper rain gear to go out caching?
no,
No. You
so
just took laundry soap from the hotel and went out
yes,
in your
had a
clothes and said,
shower.
"Well, we'll just wash them. 'em. I've got a good rinse cycle going here."
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I had layers and I had clothes that I knew would hold enough rain out. But I mean, a storm like that, you're getting wet. And
Mhm.
so, but we knew we were going back to a warm hotel room and we would dry everything out. And so, that was the game plan. So,
Nice.
um,
Now, how are the caches hidden differently on the East Coast than they are on the West Coast? I mean, yeah,
right.
out here, we expect a mountain climb and you're looking for a stump hide or an unusual pile of sticks.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that's kind of the crux of it. So, and just to, before I jump into that, our trip did continue,
Hmm,
and we
sorry.
we
Yes,
we
please
yeah, no
continue.
problem. We hit Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, um, Connecticut, um, Rhode Island, Vermont, and then back into Quebec.
So once you get through Maine, you can hit all those other New England states in like 45 minutes of driving.
Yeah, that's we figured out you get a bunch of souvenirs fairly without a lot of detouring. Uh,
Right.
I was going to say fairly easily, but it wasn't fairly easily.
I mean,
There is some
uh,
effort involved there.
each one of those states is about as big as Surrey.
Yeah. There's yeah, well, yeah, it's all relative, right? Um, but really neat. So one of the things is, when they talk about mountains, it's a little different than when we talk about mountains. So that was the first thing that I noticed is, there's lots of hills,
Mhm.
you know, 200-meter elevation. That's,
We can
they're
do that in
mountains.
an hour and keep going here.
So, but they still have some rugged terrain, and there's some beautiful areas. So you're asking about the hides themselves. A lot of commonality between what we find out here for our hides. Um, One of the things though is there's a lot more boreal forests and a lot more, or a lot fewer, I should say, conifers. So you tend to be looking, if something's going to be hanging, not as often in a conifer as it would be here. Uh,
So on the ground, obviously, there's a lot more leaf cover than where.
that is definitely a challenge, particularly this time of year. Now, of course, in the summer, not so bad. And we were there very early before the leaves started falling, and they were just starting to change color. So
I was gonna say, did you see any of the colors? I mean,
we did. That's something that is just spectacular that we don't get here. I mean, we get a little bit of it here, but not like they get there. And even when it was just starting when we were there, it
mhm,
was significantly more than what we would see here on the coast in the Northwest. So, that's one thing that's um, definitely amazing. Um, just fantastic to see that.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, the color change in New England to go see the leaves change, that's, trip worthy for many
oh,
people. Yes, I'm gonna go travel. I want to go there in the fall. I want to see the fall colors. Um, Now here, I mean, there's one street here in Tacoma, Union Avenue. It's a wide boulevard with huge trees that cover the whole thing. And I had a pastor that said they should charge admission just to drive down the street, in a couple of weeks there in the fall. And it's true, it's absolutely gorgeous. But I don't think that comes close to the East Coast, the New England states.
Yeah, and we have different things, right? Like I know in Metro Vancouver, there's a couple of streets that in the spring get the cherry blossoms out,
Mhm.
and that is spectacular in its own way. So we've all got really cool stuff. It's just that's one of the things with that New England, East Coast of Canada area that is just spectacular, and you get that in Ontario and Quebec as well, right? So all that area out there, they get that. We don't get that the same way they do. So bonus for them. And yeah, like Keats 94 just said, those fall colors, OMG. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
It's hard to explain. You really need to experience it.
So I says, so fewer bison tubes in cedar trees?
Fewer, not none. There were some. One of the things that we thought was particularly funny, and now it may have just been a couple of the cachers of whose hides we were finding. So this probably is not endemic of all um, East Coast or Northeast geocache hiders, but we noticed that they had trouble getting their conifers correct. So
Interesting.
you'd have a hint of um, in cedar, and we'd go and look for the cache, and yeah, no, that's not a cedar. That's not
Interesting.
even a cedar out here. That's just not a cedar tree.
Well,
That's
they
a pine.
probably don't have the western red cedar, so
Well, they definitely don't have that, but they do have cedars, they do have pines, they do have fir trees, they do have spruce trees out there, just not as many. And I guess the COs of whose caches we were finding seemed to be very confused as to which was which. They had their deciduous trees right every time, but
Mhm.
their conifers they seem to be struggling with.
Interesting.
Oh, it's just
Interesting.
yeah, again, like I said, not to be taken as a generalization of all
Sure.
Northeast COs in any way. It was just ironic and very amusing to us. But yeah, so um,
So were you able to meet up with any of the local cachers?
we did, particularly in PEI. We went, and so this is one thing I'll definitely tell people. So first of all, go to Prince Edward Island. So
Mhm.
when I say PEI, I mean Prince Edward Island, which is a province, which is the smallest province we have in Canada. It is an island. You can access it by traveling across the Confederation Bridge, which is a really cool drive. But Prince Edward Island is just beautiful. I can't say enough about it. While I'm talking, I'm gonna pull up some of
Mhm.
my photos from PEI.
My daughter did a we did yeah, we do a report on the 50 states, and then they get to choose a province in Canada, and she did PEI. So, I feel like I already know all about it,
There you
you
go.
know, from a bifold display board. I feel like I know everything about PEI.
There you go. Well, then I guess I'm done. I really there's
Yeah.
not much else I need
Well,
to
you
say.
know what, though? Not everybody has that same display board. Maybe you should show a few pictures
All right, so why don't I do that? I'll pull up a few pictures while
and
I'm
be
talking.
descriptive.
Yeah, so one of the really cool things about PEI is the red sand, the red dirt. So you get down on the beaches, and even on what wasn't maybe the nicest day, you get beaches like this, where you get down there, and it was a little overcast, and you can see the white caps out there. It was a little windy, but it was beautiful. Look, I mean, look at the red sand on those cliffs there. And this one out here, it's a little hard to see, but you can see there's actually a keyhole in the rocks way
Mhm.
out there, which was pretty cool.
Were you keyholed?
Not entirely, no.
That was keyhauled. Oh, sorry. Never mind.
Yes, back to the whole pirate thing again. Yeah, uh,
Arr.
but one of the things. So I'm going to segue here and talk about earth caching. One of the things that I found particularly interesting is that earth caching is not surprisingly a little different
Hmm.
back east, particularly in Quebec, where many of the earth caches are in French and the virtuals.
Hmm.
So one must either have rapid access to Google Translate or be able to do some translation yourself. I was able to do enough translation myself to get to correctly answer the earth caches that I was
How
doing in
how
Quebec.
is your French?
It's passable for reading it. for seeing it or listening to it,
Mhm,
is a whole different situation.
mhm.
So I just don't practice enough. That's the problem. But yeah, so so there's one thing there, and so there's different geology out there than we have here. So there's different topics of the Earth caches, which was quite interesting and quite fascinating. Um, one of the things I found, we had a number of Earth caches that were about zinc monuments in cemeteries. So
Really?
So yeah, if you're planning to go out there and you want to score a few Earth caches, just do a little bit of background on zinc monuments and cemeteries, and you can score yourself a few Earth
Are
caches.
they just zinc covered monuments, like a stone monument, zinc being a metal that doesn't corrode easily?
Well, the latter part, correct. It's a metal that doesn't corrode easily, and it doesn't weather nearly as easily as the rock that they often use, the granite or marble. So often it's used for the monuments, and no, the monuments themselves are entirely made out of zinc.
Oh,
Uh,
entirely, not just covered. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So it's quite fascinating from that
Hmm,
perspective. So learned something new there. That was
I had no idea on that one. That was new to me.
Yeah, it was new to me as well. It was
So,
quite interesting.
I'm going to ask a question.
'Kay.
I hope it seems obvious, but as a zinc monument, how is that, geological?
Well, it's a bit of a stretch for an Earth cache, right? But it was they honestly probably were better suited to being virtuals, but they were Earth caches. So as I
Okay.
say sometimes, still counts as an Earth cache. So there was some geology that they were asking you to learn and understand, but it was
Keith says the gypsum mines are common in Nova Scotia, quite striking white rock.
yes,
Quite striking.
it's tweaking, yes. Um, So yeah, jumping back to PEI, there are some just phenomenal spots to check out there. Got There's another photo I want to share with you here. Hold on, one moment,
So,
please.
while it's the smallest of the provinces,
Yeah,
how long did you spend in PEI?
we spent 2 days.
Okay.
So PEI is kind of shaped. Um, there's a main central part of the island, and then there's a southern bump, a southern part of the island, and a northern part of the island that are sort of connected onto the main part in the
Mhm.
middle. We spent almost all our time in the main part in the middle, which you can easily spend a couple of days driving all over the place. And PEI is loaded, like I mean loaded with geocaches. Um, and here I've got an even better photo of some of the beach here. Let me pull this up. So here you go. Here's another fascinating shot. This was a
Oops, sorry, I
oh,
took that over. I was
oh there you
I
go.
didn't intend to, step on your picture there, but, there's a map of PEI if you happen to be watching.
Excellent.
Okay, now back to your picture.
Yeah,
What
no worries. So this was a location of an earth cache that we went to, um, uh, talking about the sea caves that were carved out by the
Mhm.
ocean here in this spot. And it's a one of the things you have to be thinking about when you go caching, particularly earth caches, but also some traditionals and such um, in the Maritimes of Canada is you have to be aware of the tides. A number of them are tidal, so you can only access them at low tides, unless you've got a kayak. And then, but usually, if you're on a road trip, you don't always have a kayak. So, depending where you're road tripping from.
If you don't always have a kayak, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, just again, just some of the stunning beauty of the area. Um, but where I was going to go with this is that we did. You were asking if we met any local cachers. We did. We were chasing a letterbox cache
Hmm.
that ended up bringing us um, to. Let's pull this up here.
And again, I apologize.
Yep.
I'm getting maps ready to show, and whenever I click screen share, it just takes over, so, I apologize. If you wanted to see where Prince Edward Island lies on the coast there's a good map for you. Land Monkey, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. So there was a letterbox cache that we wanted to get because we wanted to get as many icon types as we could when we were on PI. and one of the letter boxes was at a residence. So we went there, and well, it's the residence of El Nimrod, who is a very active geocacher on PEI, and this is his home, and he allowed us to take some pictures. We actually did some video. There's going to be a Land Monkey episode coming out at some point that he'll be featured in, and he's got the big smiley flag there on his porch,
Nice.
and the
Did
cache
you
is on
find
his
it?
porch. Sorry.
Did you find it?
Yes, we did. Um, and we actually ended up having a really great chat with him for a while. Really nice fellow. And yeah, so, often I seem to have lost the ability to change the screen here. Chris, you doing something?
Nope.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Great. Um, Often when you see a cache is on a private or private property with permission, uh, I personally am kind of like, okay, we'll
exactly.
see. But then when you got to walk up onto somebody's porch to get it, I'm like, oh. But as we pulled into the driveway, he happened to be sitting out on his deck, and he just came out and waved, went, geocachers, come on up. So had a great chat with him, and just a really neat guy. He's planning to come out for GeoWoodstock, so that'll be fun. We'll see him
Okay.
again.
Now,
Um,
growing up,
yeah.
the term Nimrod was not a congenial term that friends would just toss around.
Yes.
Oh,
So interesting because I was curious. I asked him about the background on his caching name, and he said that it's actually based on the legendary hunter named Nimrod, and said that as a geocacher, a searcher for geocaches, he feels that it's a form of hunting, and so he adopted that caching name. But he said it is also amusing that it has that double entendre to it.
okay.
And he has quite a wacky sense of humor. He was quite a fun guy to hang out with for a bit. So my advice is if you're planning to go to PEI, plan to go and find the cache, the letterbox that is on his property. Even if he's not there, it's still, it's a nice big cache, and it's almost always got trackables in it, so that's fun too.
Nice. Um, we have another mention in the live chat that says, "Hey, caching in the Northwest, ask Land Monkey how many DNF logs he had on his trip." This comes from Brylang. I think there might be some inside information there, but you know what, Land Monkey, how many DNFs did you have on your trip?
We had a few. The monkeys are not afraid to log a DNF. If I was to spitball it, ballpark it, maybe a dozen DNFs total for the trip.
Do you feel those were weather related?
No, no, they were just caches that we could not find.
Okay.
Looked for them, couldn't find them. DNF. So yeah,
Excuse me.
there may be some background story too, and if there is, the background story is that monkeys aren't afraid to log a DNF.
Mm.
So
A DNF is nothing to be ashamed about.
it's a badge of
You
honor.
you should go out and log a DNF today.
Yeah,
Okay, you know what? It could be late. Do it tomorrow.
yeah. Just don't log a needs archive
Mm.
unless it really, actually, really, really does. Yeah. So that was kind of cool. There's all kinds of great places to visit throughout the Northeast. I've spent most of the show talking about Northeastern Canada, but certainly we had some amazing places we visited in Portland. In fact, I almost ran into. I was exchanging messages and just could not make the timing to connect with. But if you think of Portland, Maine, is
Mhm.
there a geocacher that comes to mind?
Only one.
Who is it? Oh, now sorry, I put you on the spot.
Yeah, you put me on the spot. I can see he's a bicyclist. Um, worked at the Apple store. I can tell you about him, but I can't come up with his name. That's the way my brain works. And
Yeah,
as soon as you say it, I'm like, yeah, of course. I could go look on the geocaching app under my friends and find him quickly, but
you might, but he's retiring from geocaching. So
what?
I know, I was shocked. I was
He
absolutely
does,
shocked.
or he has done podcasts about beer,
Yes.
has a beer podcast. See, I can tell you about him. I still can't come up with his name.
Now I'm just enjoying this, so I'm going to
Okay.
torture you a little longer.
Can,
But
can you say his name? I want this to end.
Nope.
No.
Uh, but it's somebody like yourself. I've been on a few podcasts with them as well, and so I reached out to him and say, "Hey, I'm coming into town. I'm gonna try and find some of your caches." He has a really neat virtual cache that we had some fun with. Here, I'll put that picture up here. There we go. That's Mrs. Monkey and I having a little bit of fun at his virtual cache. It's a
Nice.
abandoned section of rail on a rails to trail um, biking path,
Mhm.
and the virtual is, take an interesting picture here. So we chose to do the evil villain and
You look interesting.
the damsel in distress on the tied to the tracks. So yeah, you gotta have some fun. Um, but yeah, so it's Dano.
Yes, I'm team Pugash. See?
Team Pugach. That's right. Yeah. So I reached out to Dano, and we were messaging back and forth for a bit throughout the day, which was a lot of fun. Um, but he did give me an excellent recommendation for a place to grab dinner and a beer, which is Foulmouth Brewing in Portland, Maine. I would, I it was amazing. I would highly recommend that place as well. That was the recommendation from Dano of Team Pugach, and I will pass that on to anybody else who's planning to go there. But yeah, so Portland, Maine was great. One of our next stops was we went into Massachusetts, and we there's two places about Massachusetts I really want to just make sure I talk about from a geocaching perspective before we
Mhm.
run out of time here. One is the city of Boston, which I have been to pre-geocaching, and I was
Mhm.
excited to go back. Mrs. Monkey was really excited to come with me and walk the Freedom Trail.
Ah, very nice.
So the cool thing with the Freedom Trail is that there are some neat virtuals and a few traditionals that you can pick up. So you can pick up some caches, but you also get to experience the 16 stops of the Freedom Trail. And if anybody hasn't heard about the Freedom Trail or doesn't know what it is really, really cool. We don't have anything quite like that out here in the Northwest. We've
We don't
got
have history, yeah.
well, we don't have the same level of history for sure. We've got different cool stuff out here, but the Freedom Trail is basically you follow a trail of paved bricks, pavers in the sidewalk, as well as interactive or physical maps, and they take you to 16 different sites of historical significance,
Mm.
primarily centering around the American Revolution, the War of Independence. Or what do you call that? The Revolution?
Revolutionary War.
Revolutionary War. Okay, there you go. So it was fascinating. We learned a lot. We saw some really cool places. Like I said, picked up a few geocaches along it, but that was more about just experiencing the culture and the history, um, and having a great time with it. So definitely that. And the other place we went, which was our furthest south point, was Cape Cod.
Mm.
Cape Cod was a bucket list place for me. I've always wanted to go and visit Cape Cod. This was our opportunity. We drove down there. We drove the entire peninsula of Cape Cod, found a metric buttload of earth caches and virtuals.
Not in Cape Cod, you didn't. It was an
Uh,
imperial buttload.
Is imperial. Okay, fair enough. Um, but just again, just beautiful and a different kind of beautiful, but interesting thing I learned about Cape Cod that I didn't know. Well, two things. One, you can find horseshoe crabs, which I've always wanted to see a horseshoe
Mm.
crab in real life. So I finally have. Those are really creepy and weird.
Mhm.
Um, and the other thing is they have a lot of great white sharks.
Yes.
I didn't know that. And then I
It
realized, oh, yeah, where do you think the movie Jaws was set?
Mhm.
Right. Now I
Did
get it.
While you were in Boston, did you have a cup of tea? Or
I
did
didn't
you have
feel it
your
would
own
be,
little tea party?
I didn't feel it would be appropriate. I thought,
Okay. Just curious.
as a royalist, I thought, I won't push that particular button.
Okay.
But I did blow a raspberry at um, the home of the Boston Bruins there. So,
Mm. Well, that's okay then.
so
So, how long is the Freedom Trail if you were to walk it?
great question. We were able to. to walk it in about 2 hours or so, and that
Okay.
includes stops for earth caches and virtuals
Sure.
and the occasional stop to just sort of check something out and learn a bit more. They do have guided tours that'll take you up to about 4
Mhm.
hours, where they actually have, docents or guides,
Mhm.
dressed in period costume, sort of acting out a role, but taking you to all 16 spots and giving you a little more in-depth, um,
Right.
personal perspective about those spots as you go. But yeah, really, really neat. So
And it's easy to follow. I mean, it's a bit circuitous. It's not a straight
not a
trail
straight
as
line.
one would
No.
think. It jumps and wiggles and doubles back, and so
Yeah.
it's easy enough to follow on your own.
Yeah, and they've got a great thing going. They actually have, if you go to the freedomtrail.com, I guess it is their website, they have a Google map on there you can just fire up on your phone with pins at all the locations,
Hmm.
and it routes you.
Okay.
So like Google Maps do. So it made it super easy to follow. It's really not a deal at all.
GSM times two says the image result for how long is the Freedom Trail? The Freedom Trail starts at the Boston Common. It's 2.5 miles. That's 4 kilometers long.
There you go. Thank you very much, GSM times two. And yeah, it does start at Boston Common. You can park underground at Boston Common, which I learned. It's a little pricey. I
Hmm.
think it was like $24 to park for the day.
That's
Um,
a little pricey.
it's a little
You know
pricey.
what though? You're only doing it once. It's
Exactly how I felt.
convenient. You know, pay the money, go see the sights.
Yeah, it was cool. It was worth it. So
Now, if that's where you had to park every day for work,
yeah, that's a whole different conversation. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so those were kind of the two real neat places in Massachusetts. And then as we worked our way up, we made a detour into the White Mountains, and did some more geocaching there. Um, just that's where we saw most of the fall colors, and just that's just a spectacular, breathtaking area. Again, not mountains like we have mountains. So, we're talking about what's different between the locations.
mhm,
Definitely there's a lot more altitude to contend with here. But there's still mountains. There's still definitely some hiking you can be doing. Um, so this is the other thing that I learned. They have lots of waterfalls, and and their waterfalls are quaint. So,
any
uh,
glacial erratics?
actually, there were a couple of glacial erratics, which I thought was very funny, but not as many as you find here. Um, and the thing is that there was a lot of glacial activity, which made it a lot flatter over there. And it's just
Mm,
the mountains and such are older, so things aren't
right.
as rugged as they are here. Um, but definitely, so if you're from the Northeast and you're planning to come out the Northwest, when you come out here, come and target finding some falls like Multnomah Falls,
Yes.
or there's so many
Bridal
different.
Veil Falls, yeah.
Yeah, Bridal Veil Falls up here as well, in the Fraser Valley. They're they're different than your waterfalls,
Mhm.
and their waterfalls, don't get me wrong, there are some really beautiful, scenic, and wonderful places to go as well. Ours ours are a lot bigger. Um, and so I think if you're planning to come out here, make a point of getting to some of the waterfalls that we have out here. You're just gonna wow. You're gonna
Yeah,
be amazed. So that
yeah.
would be one thing I would suggest for folks in the Northeast who are thinking about planning on coming out to the Northwest.
Yeah, and in, August, you don't have to worry about hurricanes or typhoons
Nope.
or tornadoes. We don't have any of those.
Now we may get some rain. I'm not gonna
We may
I'm
get a
not
we
gonna
may
kid
get a
you.
rainfall. It'll be, an hour, it'll be done, and then be humid afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a little different. Yeah, Keats 94 says Shannon Falls, June Pros, Norvan Falls. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different great waterfalls we have out here. But again, to get at some of those, one particularly Norvan Falls, and well, Shannon Falls is a little more accessible, but Norvan Falls for sure. To get to that one, you're gonna have to hike up into our mountains on the North
Yeah.
Shore. So
And those are mountains.
mm,
You're gonna go up some elevation.
well, yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a pretty decent elevation change there to deal with. Hunland, yeah, Tweedsmuir Park, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm trying to keep it more to the area where people who are coming for the geocaching celebrations are going
Right.
to make it to Landshark's Bridalveil Falls for sure. Yeah, we mentioned that one, which
Mhm.
is in the Fraser Valley. Um, and it makes it so, if you're coming to GeoWoodstock, Bridalveil Falls is really accessible.
Yeah.
That's definitely one we're encouraged
Um,
to check out.
IAM says if you go to Multnomah Falls, make sure that your hat has a good chin strap, especially that new hat that you just purchased.
Oh, sounds like there's a little backstory there. Yeah.
Uh,
So
Takaka Falls.
in Yoho National Park, yeah, I was there this spring. That's again amazing. But again, that's so Yoho is almost at the provincial border um, with Alberta. So it's
Mhm.
not, you'd have to make a pretty big effort to get out there. But there's, I mean, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, so many amazing places to find and get to. You're not going to have enough time if you're only coming out here for a couple of weeks, but definitely you'll be able to route yourself to some pretty cool spots, and see some of the amazing stuff we have. So really the key things, that I would say if you're from the Northeast and you're planning to come out to the Northwest, um, make sure to get into your plan to check out some of our waterfalls because it's different and it's spectacular.
And go to some of our peaks. I mean, you can drive to, Mount Rainier, you can drive to Mount St. Helens. Those are not going to be mountains like you get to see. And we're not saying ours is better. Ours are different.
They're different, exactly.
And,
That's what you
take
want to experience.
advantage and you come away going, "Wow, that was beautiful."
Yeah.
So,
Yep. And get into some of our national or provincial forests, or state forests. You're gonna experience some stuff that is, very,
mhm,
very different. We've got the big conifer forests that they don't particularly have back east. So again, you're gonna get this is the other thing I notice is when I'm in the forests back east is they've got trees, they got lots of trees, and they're big,
mhm,
but not like what we're used to out here, right?
right.
So um, get out into um, yeah, and so Brian Lang's also saying that the waterfalls won't be as spectacular in August. It is a drier season, but they're still running. There'll still be water in them. They're just quite amazing in the spring.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's Gia sometimes it says ours are taller. Yeah, the California redwoods are the tallest. I'll give you
There's no doubt those are impressive trees. Wow.
that.
If you have an opportunity, drive Highway 101 through the redwood forest.
Yeah, but again, West Coast, right? So that's what she said, indeed. Um, but there's a lot of places. Even if you get over to Vancouver Island, you go to Cathedral Grove, um, just a short drive up from Victoria. You're going to get into. It's very much like what you would see with
Mhm.
the redwood forests in California. Um, massive, massive Douglas firs and cedars. It's the trees are just different,
Right.
again, and it's just something that I think if you're coming from the Northeast or anywhere on the East and you're coming to the Northwest, the things that I would suggest that are different enough that you should really target seeing 'em. So, sounds like, Chris, we've got, um, the waterfalls, the forests, the mountains, definitely, and as you said, a lot of the mountains you can drive most of the way up.
Mhm.
Um,
You can get spectacular views and never leave your car. I
yeah.
don't know why you would never leave your car, but you really could. You could drive through and, wow, that's fantastic, and then try
Absolutely.
to get to the next site. But, yeah, so a lot of it is very accessible. You don't have to worry about climbing, 4 or 5,000 feet. You can drive it.
You can drive it, absolutely. And, I guess maybe just to wrap up, we're just over an hour now. So to wrap up from my perspective, the other thing I would definitely say though is for all of us out here in the Northwest, try and get out to the Northeast, to the Maritimes of Canada, to the seaboard, Northeast seaboard states of the US. Man, I really loved that geocaching adventure, that road trip. We had a spectacular time. It's again, it's so different than what we experience here. It's really worth doing. So, we should get out there. They should come out here. We should all visit each other.
We need a geocacher exchange program. I'll go replace Dano. He can come out and do my show, and then
Sounds like a deal.
okay.
There you go.
Hey, folks, thank you for tuning in. We really hope you enjoyed this show. If you like it, give it a thumbs up on YouTube. If you don't, that's okay. We understand.
That's right. And, we also want to, I need to pay attention here to what I'm doing. We also want to make sure that we thank the land sharks who are our corporate Denali level sponsors. Land Sharks is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. There's a big shark chasing my shark. It's very scary.
Wow.
That's the great red shark.
Dun, dun, dun,
So
dun.
check them out online, go in person, visit their store in Victoria, British Columbia. They're open 6 days a week, except on the holidays, and they will ship online orders daily. So you can order online and get all your cool geocaching stuff from them. Also, a shout out to the Land Sharks. I want to thank them for the work in creating my new Land Monkey Geocoins.
Ooh, boy.
Ooh, yeah, very
Ooh,
cool.
buddy.
There is a contest on right now. If you check out my YouTube channel and follow me on social media, you'll find out how to enter. Contest right now where you can win Land Monkey Geocoin of your very own. So thank you, Land Sharks, for working with me to produce those.
Them's just nice people.
They are. They're awesome. They're a lot of fun to hang out with. So yeah, go visit their store. Cool stuff. All right. I gotta stop this shark. Hold on.
You've already jumped the shark.
I jumped the shark. I got carried away. All right, but you know what else? What else we want to do? Chris, do you have any idea what else I want to do now?
I think we should thank our other faithful Denali level supporters.
I think we should. I agree. That
That's
is what I
Land
want to do.
Sharks, JP Geo Designs, Limax, Team Squirrel, and worldcaching.com. If you want to know more about supporting the show, click the Patreon link on the cachingandw.com website. And I think we ought to read the list of patrons in our
All
best
right.
pirate voice.
Ooh. Okay. This is entirely pirate, all of them?
I'm going to go for it.
Okay. So are we alternating here?
I think we should alternate. Yeah.
All right. You gonna go first?
Sure. We got Broncos fan for life,
Sprouter.
Comp Clan,
Tick Magnet.
Kev MacD,
Subway Mark. What the heck's a subway?
Dora Moore,
Dune Buddy.
Kid Vegas 19.
Our GeoNarv Pros.
You got Wino Seattle, but I prefer the rum.
Arker Dark. That was Ackerdoc, by the way.
Oh, Arker Dark. Billy Robson. That's a good pirate name.
Genies.
Antaeus.
Gates 94.
Trexer 0.
MC3 Cuts.
Kennel Barb.
Nerve.
Wet Custer. And Green Words.
Ooh, that was scary. Sege Hove.
Alarobic.
Oh, the keepers of the cash flow.
And that landlubber, the Highlands guy.
The Geo Travelers.
Boomer 365.
GSM times 2.
Kitty Quest. I like the kitties. Didn't expect that from a pirate, did you?
No, I'm kind of done now. All right. T-Sayer.
The Seabeck tribe. There's a proper name.
There it is. CRS 98.
And there be Pendragon. See, there be Pendragon.
Yes. Very good. Very good. Nautical map reference. There be Pendragons.
Oh, that was fun.
That was a mess. That's what that was.
Don't worry, you've got a year until we try that again.
All right. Well, until next week and your voice recovers, where can our listeners find you, Mr. of the Northwest?
Well, you can find me at my local ear, nose, and throat clinic, or perhaps on Twitter and Facebook at CachingNW. Instagram, I'm Caching in the Northwest. What about you, Land Monkey? Where can people find you?
Well, I'm going to say, first of all, go check out our YouTube channel, LANMONKEY, Land Monkey on YouTube. And that's how you can find out how to enter to win one of these cool Land Monkey Geocoins.
Land Monkey, I just had an idea. I know this interrupts your segment.
Okay. Shoot.
We need to make a Geocoin that has grooves in it. We can play it on a record player, and it will play your little audio logo there.
Ooh, that's cool. Like the little music boxes.
Oh, we could do music boxes. I was thinking grooves in the geocoin, and you could put it on a record player.
Ooh, what speed would you play it on?
76.
Okay.
Yeah.
So great.
Hello, I'm Nico. Land Monkey.
Anyways, you can also follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Periscope at LandMonkey, a GC, just like it is up on the sign there behind me. And yeah, and you know what else is go check out if you haven't already and you're thinking about coming out here in August for the Geo Extravaganza of 2020. Um, go check out go check out the Geo Woodstock 18 website. So it's geowoodstock.com. Boy, I'm just really struggling tonight. geowoodstock.com. Just check it out. And, if you're thinking of coming out, log your will attend. And we'll look forward to seeing you when you come out here. And you can tell us all about geocaching wherever it is that you call home.
Northeast, Southwest,
We won't
Southeast,
discriminate.
Central. We don't care. We're not picky. We want to know where you geocache. But
Exactly.
we also want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Don't forget that you can be part of the show. You can call 253-693-TFTC. Leave us a comment, ask us a question, or rent us a Volkswagen any time of the day or night. Of course, you can email us at feedback@CachingNW. Don't forget that your support helps keep the quality shows coming. If you like this show, click the Patreon link, and we'll stop talking like a pirate on the CachingNW.com website, and subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. Give us a thumbs up or a review, or we make Glenn Monkey walk the plank. The show's produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, and Jay Kennedy. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2019 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, we ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
the after show.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I just can't. I don't know. I cannot maintain the whole pirate thing. Maybe it's just too silly, maybe it's or too funny, and I can't keep a straight face long enough. I don't know. Good times, good times. Anyways, it is great to be back here on the show with you, buddy. I wish Jim was able to make it tonight. We could have the trifecta back together, but hopefully soon enough.
Yep.
We'll be able to rejoin the show.
Yep, he's working, but he'll be back on the show before you know it. And 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
2 shakes of a kraken's fist. All right. Hey, and then that's a reminder for our listeners. If you miss Wits End, let them know. Tell them that you'd like to see him at Wits End on Twitter. That's probably the best way to get a hold of him. He's always watching Twitter.
He is. Hey, Trexer says those pirates weren't as bad as I was expecting.
Like bad, like evil, or bad, like just really poor imitations?
Who knows? Keith says R.I.P. vocal cords.
No kidding. No kidding.
That was something, says Brylang.
Yeah, it was. It was something. All right.
Yeah, IHAM says it was something, but we're not sure what kind of something it was.
That's okay. Neither are we.
Yeah. Boy, with friends like you, I don't need pirates.
Yeah. Good thing, eh?
Yeah.
So we have some FATAS.
We do. I'm going to jump up to the second one there, and IHAM wants to know, does anybody have a good hurricane and or typhoon story? That may be something worthwhile to send into feedback@cachingNW.com. Perhaps it is geocaching related, perhaps not. Maybe while you were geocaching in the East Coast, you got, inundated by a hurricane. I happen to know people who were vacationing down, I think it was in the Bahamas, when a hurricane came through and they ended up having to stay a week extra. But they said it was the most amazing week when they got to help with the rescue and the recovery. They figured, we're just not going to sit in the hotel. We're going to go help these people. And that was the best week vacation they've ever had.
Awesome. That's amazing. That would be highly memorable for sure. But yeah, that's great. As IHAM said, if you've got any good hurricane or typhoon stories, send them in. we'd love to read them and read them on the show.
Mhm.
Uh, what
Also,
else?
GSM times 2 says, the history of geocaching is older in the Northwest than it is in the Northeast. At least we can beat them in that category.
Yeah, there you go. That is true. This is the home of
Yeah.
geocaching here in the Northwest, absolutely, which is something we're proud of for
Mhm.
sure, as residents of this area. But yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome how there's some aspects of it that just bring you together. So, like I said, when we were in Prince Edward Island, and people just generally were really friendly there in the Maritimes in general, but and particularly in Prince Edward Island. But when you run into somebody and you've got so much in common because you both geocache, and then you can start talking about some of the differences and some of the similarities, and
Mhm.
yeah, it makes it a lot of fun. So definitely, it's one of those things. It's a global game, but it is played regionally. So there's interesting different things.
That's right. GSM times 2 says the guest did a good job in your absence. I think he was referring to you, Land Monkey.
And the guest in my absence, right? So you had a couple
Oh,
of guests in my absence, didn't you?
yes. First week was Kev MacD talking about Adventure Labs, and we got a lot of good feedback on that.
Mm,
And then last week was IHAM talking about Weird Washington and
mm.
Odd Oregon and Irreverent Idaho.
Yeah, I've got to go back and listen to those 2 episodes. I usually don't listen to our podcast. Just feels a little weird to listen to your own podcast. But
Tell me about it.
yeah, but when I miss episodes, it's kind of fun to go back and listen to the one or not was but when I'm
Mhm.
not here for an episode, it's fun to go back and listen to them. And I do want to once those ones are in the feed, I want to
You
download.
may want to skip over some of the parts of the episode. I'm just saying. Anyway,
Oh, oh, there's something I should know.
well, now tell us about the bullet you had in your tire.
Changing subjects rather quickly.
Oh,
Uh,
is that obvious?
so yeah, we were talking about right off the beginning of the show, talking about rusty nails and screws and such in tires. So a few years ago, um, after the oh, what's that? What's the event? Shoot, I should know this. In Pasco, um,
Tri Cities
the
Geocoin
Tri
Challenge.
Cities Geocoin Challenge. Thank you. At the end of one a couple of years back, we were driving out of town and could hear a thunk, 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 thunk. And I'm like, oh no, something in the tire. So at first I was just hoping there's a rock in the treads. We get out, we take a look. No, it's like a big hex head of a bolt in the tire. I'm like, oh man, it's not even a screw. Like this, the threads on it are going to be like this big around. It was not small at all. So like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? It's Sunday. There's not a lot open.
There's no Canadian Tire in the Tri
And
Cities.
there's no Canadian tires, and the so we're like, well, we can try and see how far we can get with this thing. Well, we get out into the highway, and of course, the moment you're on the highway, the thing throws out of your tire, right? And if you're familiar with the Tri Cities area, when you're driving out of, I guess it's Richland. When you're driving out of Richland on the highway, there's another community almost immediately outside of Richland that there's a pull off and there's a gas station right there. And we were basically at that pull off when the bolt threw out of the tire. We're like, just turn around or not turn on, just turn down, get off the road, get in. We were able to limp into the gas station. Well, we start looking at okay, trying to get the tire fixed. And I won't get into the whole long story. Mrs. Lamb Monkey tells it much better than I do. But what happens is all of a sudden, as we get now, like I wasn't feeling great as we were driving out of town. Well, once we pull the truck over into the gas station, we start the process of changing the tire. I get hit with some sort of stomach flu, and it hit hard and fast. So now I'm suffering hard with a flu and like full on it was either food poisoning or stomach flu, one of the two, full on symptoms, read between the lines. Um, and we're trying to get this tire off and we get to our spare. So here's a good piece of advice to everybody. Make sure your spare actually has air in it. our spare was deflated.
And so were your hopes of getting
And
home.
so were our hopes of getting out of town. Fortunately, somebody else in the parking lot had also had an issue with their tires and had called already and had one of those mobile tire repair vehicles come out. Well, while the guys helping the other person were chatting with him, and we were able to talk him into, for some, US cash we happen to have, repairing our spare so that we could get the spare on and drive home on the spare. Um, but yeah, that was an ordeal. And again, my key advice to people and something that I do now is, yeah, at least once a year, check
Mhm.
your spare tire to make sure it's got air pressure.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to need your spare tire and find that it has no air pressure. That's
Yeah.
really, really bad.
Yeah. A lot of these newer cars have the donut spares, which either are a solid rubber wheel, but a lot of them have air inside them and they're pressurized to 70, 80, 90 pounds. I mean, they're really high pressure. You got to check those because, if they get down to 50, that tire is worthless to you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, check your spare tire.
There
And,
you
my advice is if you've got the room, go buy a full size spare. Get rid of that little donut spare. That doesn't do anybody any good.
if you have the capability of having that
Right.
in or on your vehicle, yeah. There you go. So there's my story.
And there's free advice, didn't cost you anything.
Yeah, but it might save you a lot.
That's right. Les Schwab here in the States, at least here in the West, is a very good tire place. They will do a free check on your tires for you, even if you didn't buy them there.
Same with Cal Tire in Western Canada. So,
Okay.
in fact, Rock Chalk has a really great Cal Tire story, and as do I. We won't get into it right now,
Mhm.
but
Should
Rock,
we have tires of the Northwest
we might want to do
podcast?
that. Tire stories of the Northwest. Yeah. Well, Rock Chalk's Cal Tire story is very similar to mine. His happened before mine, and so it was very interesting. And it might no, they were in different locations, different cities, but definitely. So Les Schwab, Cal Tire, great places to go for sure. I would recommend them because they seem to have exceptional customer service.
Is Cal Tire better than Canadian Tire? It sounds like it belongs in California.
For yeah, for it KAL Cal. I don't know what it stands for, but yeah, it's better than Canadian Tire. It depends on what you're going. If you're going there to like buy stuff in general, no. Like Cal Tire is specifically a tire shop.
Okay.
Um, Canadian Tire also is a tire shop, but it's much
It's
more.
everything else.
Yeah.
All righty. And on that blowout, okay, until next week, check your tires and then get out and get caching in the Northwest.